What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to Mose Knows. I am your host, Mose. Today, we are on another episode of the 2021 NFL Draft Grades. We still in the dirty South, but now we're going to move over from the AFC to the NFC. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the New Orleans Saints. You'll see why I said that later on in this video. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. We're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons. They had the 4th overall pick, and they select Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. Generational talent. The kid's a beast. We don't even need to really discuss that much more. Round 2, they take safety Richie Grant out of UCF. In round 3, they get Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle out of Michigan. Round 4, they select Darren Hall, cornerback out of San Diego State. They had 3 5th-round picks where they select Taquan Graham, defensive tackle out of Texas. Kumbo Ogundiji. I think I said that right. Defensive end out of Notre Dame. Avery Williams, corner out of Boise State. And then with their 6th-round pick, last pick that they had, they selected Frank Darby, wide receiver out of Arizona State. I love this draft by the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people said with that 4th overall pick, they should draft a young quarterback, have him sit under Matt Ryan for a year or two, then move off of Matt Ryan, insert that young quarterback, and now they still have a quarterback. That's a good plan. But I think Matt Ryan's got a few years left. As long as you can keep him healthy, as long as you can keep him protected. He's a smart football player. He's a competitor. He knows how to win. And I think he just needs, more pieces around him, specifically on that offensive line, and maybe a better running game. And Matty Ice is fine. You give him a guy like Kyle Pitts, and now we cooking with grease. Now things change a little bit because the potential offense would have been Kyle Pitts at tight end with Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones at wide receiver. Who do you cover? Who do you double team? Obviously, the main answer would be Julio Jones. But you just going to leave Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts single covered all day? Huh? Julio requested a trade. The Falcons acquiesced. Julio is now Tennessee Titan. Oh my goodness. I didn't even get to talk about that in the last video because that would have took that video to over an hour. But Julio's gone. You still have Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley assumes that number 1 wide receiver role, which I think he's more than capable of handling. And now you have a guy like Kyle Pitts who can be utilized everywhere. Inline tight end. You can have him as an H-back if you wanted. You could split him outside. You can have him lined up as a big slot. Kyle Pitts can move everywhere. He can do everything. And while it would have been dynamite to have Julio there, I think you don't skip a beat because you have Kyle Pitts who can kind of do some of the similar things as well. Big body, fast, can go up and catch the ball at its highest point. He's going to be tough to cover for smaller corners and safeties. He's going to be a tough cover from a speed perspective with linebackers. I mean, it's Kyle Pitts. Round 2, they take safety Richie Grant. I think they needed to upgrade that secondary. They did so with Richie Grant. Who was the safety that moved on? Keanu Neal. They did not re-sign him, and Keanu Neal signed with the Cowboys. So they needed to, replace him. Keanu Neal had a lot of injuries. So injury history was a factor in him not being re-signed. Get a young guy like Richie Grant from UCF to come in and fill that void. Jalen Mayfield falling to the 3rd round is something that I didn't see. He was easily a top 5 tackle in this class. A lot of people had him going in the 1st round, maybe slipping into that early 2nd round. But for him to fall to the 3rd, again, I think this is another gift that a team received during the 2021 NFL Draft. Jalen Mayfield is going to come in right away and be a starter on that offensive line at either one of the tackle spots, whichever one they want to put him at, whichever one he excels at the most and beats out the other guy. It's going to happen. Jalen Mayfield is going to start on this offensive line. I like Darren Hall and the Avery Williams pick, so I'm jumping a few picks here. But again, I think they needed to add help in the secondary, somebody opposite AJ Terrell. So you get Darren Hall, you get Avery Williams, bring guys in, who can compete for that second and third cornerback spot on this team. Absolutely love it. Taquan Cram is going to come in and factor immediately on that defensive line rotation. Odakumbo Ogundiji from Notre Dame. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, bro. I'm working on it. I think he's going to factor in as a rotational pass rusher for this team. And don't sleep on that Frank Darby pick. I think Frank Darby has the ability to come in and fight for wide receiver number 2, especially now that Julio's gone. I think Frank Darby can come in and fight for wide receiver number 2, where your outside wide receivers are Frank Darby, Calvin Ridley, and you have Kyle Pitts at tight end. If it's not number 2, then it could be number 3. But don't sleep on Frank Darby. I think Frank Darby can come in and at least contribute, be a solid contributor for this offense. Falcons get an A. Love the draft. They did everything that they needed to do. Falcons get an A. Let's move over to the Carolina Panthers. Now, this pick shocked me. I did not think that they were going to go J.C. Horn number 8. I'm not saying that J.C. Horn isn't deserving of it, because I do think he's deserving. I thought they would have just went somewhere else. I thought they would have tried to address the offensive line. At that point, Rashawn Slater was still on the board. Christian Darrisaw was still on the board. I think Rashawn Slater could have gone here at number 8. We talk about Sam Darnold and how he didn't get, any type of help when he was with the Jets. You get traded to the Panthers. They have wide receivers. They have a running back. Offensive line is decent in front of them. But I think the offensive line could have, been improved. But you got Christian McCaffrey. You got Robbie Anderson. You got DJ Moore. You got playmakers on the outside. Now give him help on the offensive line. I thought Rashawn Slater could have been awesome here. But Carolina decided to go defense. And they got one of the best cornerbacks in the draft, J.C. Horn. Love him. If you want more insight about J.C. Horn, check out the video that I put up with former NFL, AFL cornerback Eric Crocker. Just going over J.C. Horn and what he adds and what he brings to the table from the cornerback perspective. Shout out to Eric. Appreciate him coming on. He gave a lot of good insight throughout that whole conversation. And I, cut the piece about J.C. Horn out, so you can find that in the videos listed there. But I think this is an amazing addition to this defense. You put J.C. Horn opposite Dante Jackson, and your corners are set. He's in a division where he's got to worry about. He did have to worry about Julio Jones, but he's still got to worry about Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski and Michael Thomas. He's in a division where he's got to worry about a lot of good receivers and tight ends. So I think, he's going to be tested early on, especially in his division. 6 games out of the year where you got to face those guys. And we're going to see what he's made of. But I know he's made of the right stuff. He has a similar mentality as his dad, Joe Horn. Although he likes to remind everybody that he's his own man, he's his own player, but he's ready and willing to compete. I thought that was a great pick. In the second round, the Panthers take Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU, like they needed another wide receiver. But now you got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrace Marshall Jr. Goodness gracious. Sam Darnold has no excuses now. You got 3 wide receivers: DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall Jr., and Christian McCaffrey. What? Bro, no excuses. Third round, they take Brady Christensen, offensive tackle out of BYU. He probably figures to be a starter at that right tackle position. If they move Moton to left tackle, or maybe Brady starts at left tackle if they keep Moton at right tackle. We'll have to see what they try to do with that offensive line. In the 4th round, they take my favorite running back in the draft, Chuba Hubbard. I think he slots in as the number 1 backup behind Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy where you don't have to see a lot of Chuba Hubbard, because that benefits that offense. But I think as a spell back, Chuba Hubbard is ideal for that offense. Opposite back of Christian McCaffrey, but somebody who can tote the rock. 5th round pick, I love it. Davion Nixon, defensive tackle out of Iowa. Listen here. I'm trying to figure out how he fell so far. A lot of people's big boards had Davion Nixon as, the number 1 or number 2 defensive tackle in this class. Only behind Christian Barmore from Alabama. Some people had him ahead of Christian Barmore because some people see Davion Nixon as a traditional 3-4 defensive tackle, where they see Christian Barmore as a nose tackle in a 3-4. I think Christian Barmore is a little bit more versatile than that. But Davion Nixon was the number 1 or 2. I would have to look into it. I don't know if it was injury concerns or something else. But Davion Nixon falling to Carolina in the 5th round is amazing. Add him on that defensive line next to who did they draft? Derek Brown. Whoa. Derek Brown and Davion Nixon as your starting defensive tackles, with their strength, with their speed, their agility, quick feet, able to move, the quickness that they shed blocks, great hands, great combat at the line of scrimmage with the hands, getting off blocks. Derek and Davion, Brown and Nixon, what? To me, that's amazing. Talking as a defensive tackle, you see the size. Somebody who played defensive tackle, having Derek Brown and Davion Nixon with what they're able to do, and both of them can do the same things, but have a little bit of nuance to their game. Well, they can do different things. So I think they complement each other on that interior defensive line. That only benefits J.C. Horn for him to be able to do what he needs to do, because they're going to stop the run and they're going to collapse the pocket in the pass rush. So if they're collapsing the pocket up front, that can let Brian Burns go hunt. And Brian Burns is a beast also. Listen, this Panthers defense shaping up to be something scurry. Because don't forget about Jeremy Chin. Safety / linebacker. 6'3", 230, running a 4.3. What? Don't forget about my man Shaq Thompson. He's now the veteran on the team, the vocal leader on the defense, who's still athletic and can move and do all the things from a linebacker perspective that you need him to do. Listen. This Panthers defense is shaping up. After Davion Nixon, they take another good corner. Keith Taylor, cornerback out of Washington. I think he figures to be a solid rotational corner and offer you help on special teams. In the 6th round, they take Deontay Brown, offensive guard out of Alabama. He's probably going to start at right or left guard. You got him in the 6th round and he's going to start. Then they take Shi Smith, wide receiver out of South Carolina. They take a long snapper in the 6th round, Thomas Fletcher out of Alabama. And then they wrap their draft up with Phil Hoskins, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. I mean, I don't think I need to go over it again. I think you saw, my enthusiasm, going through this list. Panthers got an A. J.C. Horn, Terrace Marshall, Brady Christensen, Chuba Hubbard, Davion Nixon, Keith Taylor, Deontay Brown. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight picks they didn't miss. I don't even think Shi Smith is a miss either. So that's 8. Yeah, like you needed another wide receiver. Now they 4 wide receivers deep. A. Carolina Panthers get an A. Moving over to the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I remember going through the mock draft for this team, and I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? Where do I go for a team that really doesn't need anything? Offensive line, set. Tight end, set. Because they have Gronk, although he's getting older. OJ Howard's coming back. They're set. Wide receiver, set. Running back, they re-signed Leonard Fournette. Still got Ronald Jones. They're set there. Offense is done. Defense, brought back Ndamukong Suh. Got Vita Vea. Brought back Shaq Barrett. Was able to keep Levante David. Devin White still under his rookie deal, I think. Jason Pierre-Paul still under contract. All your safeties and corners is young. What else did this team need? What else? So let's go through it. First round pick, number 32. They take Joe Tryon, linebacker out of Washington. Another pass rusher. Now, what I said was, if money was an issue, they could draft a young pass rusher and then cut Jason Pierre-Paul. They haven't cut JPP yet, but they still drafted a young pass rusher. So that means if they don't cut JPP, and he's on the books, I think, for $12 million this year, next year he won't be back. I think this is the last year of his deal anyway. So more than likely, they probably won't re-sign him after the upcoming season. So you take a young pass rusher who can learn from him, learn from Shaq Barrett, and then when they move on from JPP, you know, he's got a year of learning under his belt. His second season, he can take off. Cool. Second round, they take Kyle Trask. Now, this was a shocker for me. I didn't think they were going to go quarterback, but you draft a young quarterback, get him in the building, get him learning your system, because you don't know how much longer Tom is going to play. He could say this is his last year, but you don't know it until the end of the season. He might play another 3 or 4 years. I doubt that. Maybe another 1 or 2. But you get the young guy now, get him in the building, get him learning under Tom Brady. And I'm sure Tom understands now. I think back when, you know, the Patriots selected Jimmy Garoppolo, that kind of frustrated him because at that point he still had 5, 6, 7, 8 years left. But now he's further into that tail end, and I think he understands. And I don't think they'll have the same issues. But even Jimmy and Tom have a great relationship, so it wasn't like the relationship was soured between, you know, the young quarterback and the old guy. So I think Kyle Trask comes in, learns from Tom Brady, learns how to be a professional. And when Tom moves on, Kyle Trask can fit right in. I think that was a solid pick for the future for Tampa Bay. In the third round, they take Robert Hainsey, guard out of Notre Dame. Solid rotational piece on the offensive line. Fourth round, they take wide receiver Jalen Darden. Speed for days. He's going to help you on special teams, punt and kick return. And if you need him to step in at that wide receiver 4 or 5 position, help you stretch the field, he can do that as well. Fifth round, they select KJ Britt, linebacker out of Auburn. And then 2 7th-round picks, they take Chris Wilcox, corner out of BYU, and then Grant Stewart, linebacker out of Houston. Again, Robert Hainsey, good rotational piece on our offensive line. Jalen Darden, speed for days. He's going to help in special teams and help stretch the field. Linebackers KJ Britt and Grant Stewart figure to learn under guys like Devin White and Levante David. Again, great rotational pieces. Also provide help on special teams. Chris Wilcox has a deep secondary that he has to compete with. I don't see him making a 53-man roster. He'll likely end up on the practice squad. But I think this is a good, solid draft. I love Joe Tryon. I like his ability to rush the passer from the edge. I think he's going to learn a lot from Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaquille Barrett. I gave the Bucs a B+. They stuck with what their strength was, adding another pass rusher who can add rotation, adding Kyle Trask, looking towards the future and having sustained success. Getting a guy like Robert Ainsey at guard who can be a good rotational piece in the event of an injury. We don't want to speak that into existence. Jalen Darden, special teamer. KJ Britt, Grant Stewart, special teams. And then, Chris Wilcox probably will be the odd man out because that secondary is deep. But I gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a B+ for this draft. Love what they did. They stuck to their strengths. And they brought all their players back, so they really didn't need to address much in this draft. But what they did do was fitting for their team. Last team in the NFC South is the New Orleans Saints. I'm gonna tell you right away, this is the lowest draft grade out of all 32 teams within this series. And I'm going to just start with the grade. I gave them a D. And I said it with emphasis because they need to know. This is a D. D. This draft was trash. I'm sorry. First round pick, you take Peyton Turner. What? They took Peyton Turner over Joe Tryon and Jason Owe. Peyton Turner? Peyton Turner is not a first round pick. Nobody had Peyton Turner going in the first round. Nobody. I double checked. I looked. I went on NFL.com. I went on ESPN.com. I checked all of the mock drafts, all the different versions and iterations in 1.0 and 1.1 and 1.2 and 2.0 and 2. I checked. I never seen Peyton Turner in the first round. When I watch film, Peyton Turner is not a first rounder. He has trouble with athletic tackles. He has trouble with powerful, strong tackles. Not many pass rush moves. He's not a first rounder. To me, that was a wasted pick. There were two pass rushers who I think are much better than Peyton Turner, who went at 31 and 32. And you take Peyton Turner at 28. After you re-sign Marcus Davenport. Yeah, I know you lost Trey Hendrickson to the Bengals, but you don't replace him with a Peyton Turner. And if you do, not in the first round. I felt like corner was a bigger need, and they didn't address corner until the third round. And that's probably the only pick that I liked. Second round, they take Pete Werner, linebacker out of Ohio State. Not a fan of this pick either. They see something that they like. They think he fits their defensive scheme, but knowing the linebackers that they've had there, I don't think he fits. He's not in the same mold as a Demario Davis. I know they had Quan Alexander there for a little bit. Kiko Alonso there for a little bit. They like rangy linebackers, speed, ability to cover, and play the run. Quan Alexander, Kiko Alonso, even Alex Anzalone, Demario Davis. I don't see Pete Werner as that guy. I think he's great in run defense, but I don't think he offers you anything in coverage. Third round, they take Paulson Adebo. I think this is a good pick. I think Paulson Adebo could have went in the second round. He did fall to the third round. The Saints snagged him. I think this was the only smart pick that they made. I think he can come in right away at that number 2 corner slot next to Marshawn Lattimore, opposite Marshawn Lattimore. Great pick. 4th round, they take Ian Book out of Notre Dame. Why? You already have 2 quarterbacks on your roster that will be in a quarterback competition. So that already tells you one of them is going to be your starter and the other is going to be your backup. If you want another quarterback on your team, either find a veteran who you can sign to a vet minimum deal or draft a quarterback in the 6th or 7th round, not Ian Book in the 4th round. Nobody was going to select Ian Book in the 4th. You either going to start Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, but they're in a quarterback battle. Throughout OTAs, mini camp, training camp, they're battling for the starting spot. But one of them will start and the other is going to be the backup. And if it's Jameis as the starter and Taysom as the backup, you're still going to figure in Taysom Hill the same way you did when Drew Brees was the quarterback. So why waste a 4th round pick, which is still a valuable commodity in the draft, on Ian Book? Wasted pick. They take Landon Young in the 6th round, offensive tackle out of Kentucky. Yeah, you can figure him in as a swing tackle, but they have 2 really, really good tackles. Really, really good tackles. All pro tackles. He may be a swing tackle, yeah, but I didn't see the need there. And then in the 7th round, they take Kawan Baker, wide receiver out of South Alabama. He's in a fight to make the roster. He'll probably end up on the practice squad. They didn't address any needs. I think corner was a more pressing need. They could have got somebody like a Tyson Campbell or a Kelvin Joseph or an Asante Samuel Jr., who I thought would have been a great fit with the Saints. Asante Samuel Jr. is similar to Janoris Jenkins and is probably at this stage in both of their careers, because he's younger, a little bit better than Janoris Jenkins. So I think he can come in with youth, with his skill set, and give you what Janoris gave you, but more and better. I think you could have went there. But I don't think the needs were addressed properly. I could say, yeah, you want to address the linebacker, but maybe Pete Warner wouldn't have been my guy. Well, not maybe. Pete Warner wouldn't have been my guy. And if he was, it wouldn't have been in the 2nd round. It would have been in the 3rd or 4th. I did not like this draft at all, and they got a D. I mean, I don't want to harp on it too much. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this at all. Only picked I like was Paulson Adebo. So to recap, the NFC South draft grades: Atlanta Falcons, A. Carolina Panthers, A. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, B+. And the New Orleans Saints, D. Absolute, unquestioned D. That's going to wrap it up for the Southern hospitality of this episode. We went through the AFC South. We went through the NFC South. We went through the East. We went through the North. We only have 2 divisions left, and they both reside on the West Coast. They say the West Coast is the best coast, so that's where we're going. So tune in next week for more of the 2021 NFL draft grades with Professor Mose. We on the West Coast next week. Thank you so much for taking time with me today. I greatly appreciate it. If you made it this far, thank you. If you watched the video, if you clicked on the link at all, your family, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. So do me a favor, family. Help your boy out. I need you to do 2 things. Maybe 3. I'm going to start saying 3. I need you to like the video, hit that thumbs up. I need you to hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. And then I need you to take another 2 seconds and hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time new content drops right here at Mose Knows. Got some things working in the background, a couple more special guests coming on doing interviews. You want to be tuned in for that. Next week, when the videos for the AFC and NFC East drop, the 2021 NFL draft grades, you want to be notified for that. And that can happen if you hit that bell icon. Hit me down in the comments below. Let me know how you felt about this video. Let me know if you agree with my draft grades, if you disagree. I love interacting with you all in the comments. You know, it does my heart joy to kind of hear your insight, hear your input, especially being a fan of your team, letting me know how you feel. It's been respect. It's been all love. I appreciate you all. So let's keep that up. Hit me down in the comments below. You can also hit me on my social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They'll be linked down in the description. If you don't have time to watch the video, but you want to pop in a podcast and just get a listen in, whether you're driving into work or you're just chilling at home and need something else to do, clear your mind, sit outside in the backyard, you know, light a fire and just chill back and relax. You can catch me on all major podcast platforms. They'll be in the description also. Again, love and appreciate you for taking the time, and I will catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.